everyone's penalty for breaking the law has been paid in full. When a person goes to prison for committing a crime, he or she remains there until the fine is paid. However, once the fine has been paid, the law that once condemned that person no longer binds them, and they are free to go. This is the grace or pardon God offers everyone through the sacrifice of Jesus. He paid our fines for breaking the law with His life by taking our place on the cross. This is the only means by which one can be saved from his or her sins. There is no other way. Jesus paid the court with His life, and now each of us can walk off of death row and out of prison, but only if we choose.
Do we then make void the law through faith? Certainly not. On the contrary, we establish the law.
Interestingly, the Bible goes a step further on the subject of salvation by grace. The Bible makes it unquestionable that accepting this gift does not give its possessors a free pass to continue living a sinful life. This is an essential biblical teaching that is often misunderstood. To illustrate, when a woman who had been caught in adultery was brought to Jesus, He pardoned her sin. Then He told her, "Go and sin no more." You see, He did not say, "Continue as you always have."
You see then that a man is justified by works, and not by faith only. For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also.
The Bible is clear that pardon from our sins comes only through the sacrifice of Jesus. While Christians are called to be obedient to the Lord's commands, the Bible is clear that we will always be in need of God's grace and forgiveness. In other words, we cannot work our way into a position of deserving God's pardon. Even so, He still offers it freely to all.
I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of a pen, will by any means disappear from the law, until everything is accomplished. Anyone who breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever practices and teaches these commands will be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
Being saved by grace frees us to enjoy a genuine walk with God. The closer we are to God, the more natural it is to live by His standards as outlined in His commandments. Jesus made it simple when He said,
If you love me, keep my commandments.
In honoring the commandments of God, each believer gives testimony that Jesus is the Lord of his or her life. It is common in other religious traditions to require countless works of sacrifice and even self-mutilation in some cases to find salvation from sins. But God, through Jesus, makes salvation very easy to attain.
If you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised Him from the dead, you will be saved.
If there is any one point you take away from this documentary, hopefully it will be how simple God has made it for you to have salvation. No works of sacrifice or self-punishment required. Just confessing Jesus as Lord of your life and believing in Him is all that you must do, and salvation will be yours. So where are we now in the biblical story? The signs of the times indicate that we're in the midst of some of the events that will ultimately lead to the return of Christ. These many prophetic signs were given long ago to demonstrate that the Bible is trustworthy and that its author knows all things, even the distant future. Though each of these prophetic signs share equal value and should be carefully studied, in this segment we will focus on one specific prophecy. In examining this prophecy, we will not only discover its amazing accuracy, but we will also learn how it will soon affect each person on this planet. As touched on earlier in this program, this prophecy, found in Revelation chapter 13, predicts that a powerful, worldwide religious and political power will exercise absolute control over all people by controlling global finances. The descriptive words religious and political are used here because this power will be both. And as a religious and political power, it will force its religious preference on all people and use its political and military power to enforce it. A non-biblical religion will align itself with the state and force everyone to adhere to its prescribed belief system or lose the privilege to buy and sell. This religious system's alignment with a military-strong government that also controls the banking system will provide it with the power it needs to control everyone.
He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand and on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark.
Why can this only apply to today? Because the technology to do this has not existed until now. You may be wondering why a power such as this would want to control the world population. The truth is, dictatorial powers have been the norm in history much more than liberal powers. As an example, history shows that the Roman Catholic Church, which is a religious and political power, controlled Europe by the sword for more than 1,000 years. If a person did not agree with the church, he or she was labeled as a heretic, tried as a criminal, and in many cases brutally tortured and killed. In fact, Protestant Christianity and North America were established to escape the oppression of that system. It clearly took place in the past, and the Bible predicts it will occur again.